we have a lot of conversations on social media. We have a lot of fights on social media. We have panels that turn into nightmares on social media. I've participated in some of those. What doesn't change, no matter how much we fight, is the system that continues to oppress us. And so while we turn the fighting onto one another and we start having these conversations that are necessary and important, we really forget to hold the establishment accountable for what it continues to do to us and why we do this in the first place. So I wanted to kick off with that, Julissa. You have been one that has also come under fire on social media. And I really wanted to just have your take on how do we balance having our conversations, holding each other accountable, and still getting stuff done, and not taking each other down.
Yeah. Well, first, thanks for having me back. I was thinking about this quote by Laura Gomez, who says that racism reaches its apex when subordinated groups start replicating that racism amongst each other. And that's sort of like when racism is having a party, being happy because we are upholding that same racism that oppresses us. And I do think that social media, unfortunately, it doesn't allow for nuanced conversations, right? Like how much can you really say in 240 characters? And I think a lot of times, on social media, one of the things that bothers me is that I think sometimes people tweet things out because they want to get retweets and they want to be explosive and not really because they're interested in making progress. And so I try to be, I'm only human, and there are times when lo que pongo es lo que me sale de la cabeza, like sin pelos en la lengua is what ends up on Twitter. And I'm conscious of the fact that there are times when those tweets and those thoughts aren't coming across as concise or as powerful as I would like them to. And we all have work to do on that. We all have work to do to make sure that the work that we're doing is not for the sake of retweets, but that it's actually for the sake of making progress and creating understanding and creating unity. And that's one piece I feel like is lacking in our community, because sometimes, to your point, I think we're too quick to start attacking each other when what we should be doing is having behind the scenes conversations, having actual conversations, like picking up the phone and calling each other and texting each other about things instead of just tweeting them out and working towards creating progress.
Got that. I want to ask you this because we are in the middle of this conversation, and Melinna and I will talk about this. Yesterday, the Imagen Awards aired, and we there was a lot of effort done to make sure that there was inclusivity with regards to our entire spectrum. And when I say that, I am very I'm very careful and I'm very thoughtful about being in spaces where people tokenize the Black people, regardless of where we are, whether we're in the Latino space, the mainstream space. We do that a lot, right? We're like, oh, now that we have a Black person, we've checked off the Afro-Latinidad box, the Black box. But can we have a conversation about how Latinos, Latinx people are completely left out of the conversations in Hollywood, while at the same time holding the same white people within our Latinx spectrum responsible for their oppression in the game? But can we have a conversation about some sort of solidarity on what makes us all Latinos, Latinx? Or is that a conversation that we're no longer going to be able to have because of the breakdown of our people?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here again on the Truth Serum. I love that question, Aida, simply because, as time goes by and, I, learn in these spaces as well. I take notes from social critics, first and foremost, what is the conversation? Because they have been doing the work for all of this time. I'm not a newbie per se, but, they have done the work on deconstructing Latinidad and what that means and navigating these spaces. So I think to better answer your question in regards to, what is the conversation anymore? Are we capable of, holding each other in account and actually having some sort of solidarity? I think that we need to all be on the same page in regards to what Latinidad is. right? I am a Black woman. Claro, yo soy Latina. My parents are from Panama. I am first gen, and I'm proud to be so, right? But in regards to community and who's looked out for me, I can't say that, structurally, because racism is about structure. It's not individual. It's about structure. We can be xenophobic, but racism is about being structured. So in regards to moving within these structures, I can't say that a lot of white Latinos have looked out for me, that a lot of white Latinos have put me on.
Same.
And this is me speaking individually. Now, collectively, Black Latinos, this is the reason why the rhetoric is the way that it is. Oh, no podemos progresar. We can't progress. Why? Not because we don't want to, but because we're being gatekeeped in that, okay, negro, if we're going to be in this space, this is how you got to act because you're representing Latinos now. You're going to run to represent Latinos, so this is how you got to act. There's a lot of gatekeeping. So I don't think that we can get to that place, not without having the conversation beforehand in regards to who's Latino and when, and how that's respected or not, and how, what needs to be done in order to change that and advance people into these types of spaces.
I first of all, I love that answer because I think that it's right. It hits it right on the head in terms of the conversations that we're having. Because one thing that I've discovered through social media is that a lot of us like to police one another in terms of what our identities are, right? Because I saw that you posted, Gata, that you don't want to even be called Afro-Latina anymore. You just want to be Black because it's been appropriated by people who don't have to deal with the journey and the struggles that come with your skin tone. And within that own movement, they're now erasing you from it. And I think that it's important for us to be real and honest about that. I love these answers and these conversations because one thing that I will tell you, and the reason why I'm attracted and drawn to you is because I believe in the laws of attraction, because I honestly want to find, solutions and I want to create a better world for our children and our children's children. And that is not to erase or to try to dispute the fact that there is oppression within our own community of each other. But at the same time, trying to find solutions so that people that come, because the thing about it is that we when we start talking about race and we start talking about cultural realities and we exclude class, there's a whole realm of reality that we dispose of when we don't talk about someone like me. I grew up in Miami and I grew up in the ghetto of Miami, right? I grew up in the middle, in a high school that was 50% Black, 49% Latino, 1% white. So we grew up in Liberty City. We grew up over town. We grew up in Miami. And my best friends who I grew up with in the same neighborhood, getting the same food stamps, struggling the same, dealing with the colorism and all of those issues. I see Breonna Taylor's loss as my loss. I'm not looking at it from the perspective of, ooh, that's terrible for Black American people. I feel like that could have been somebody in my community because I grew up dirt poor. So, and let's not, we talked about it last time. Our people get killed by the police. And when I say our people, you're talking about a Dominican Black man in the Bronx who was murdered by the police. You talk about this and people don't erase the realities of our intersections. And that's what I think is really starting to it's starting to mess with me because I'm like, this is bigger than what we think it is. And it is all by design. And it is now working. That when Native American people, First Nations people speak up for themselves, people tell them, why now? Wait your turn. And I'm like, what does that mean? We should all be fighting for this. Are we seriously now telling other people who are marginalized that they don't have a right to have a voice? And so that's all white supremacy's work from my perspective, right? So now